I think Deontay Wilder is an excellent fighter. He's tall, he's rangy, he's quick. He's one of the most prolific punchers the heavyweight division has seen in many years. And on top of that, he's got heart and he's got killer instinct. So as a fighter, I rate him. I think he's a talent. I'm not one of these people who dismisses him as a complete hype job and a creation of whoever. No, I think the guy can actually fight. But at the negotiating table, as a businessman, I don't think Deontay Wilder is up to par and up to scratch. No. Deontay, as good a fighter as he is, comes across to me as a chicken chasing, pig wrestling, dungaree and straw hat wearing, barnyard hillbilly. I just have to be blunt about that's how it comes across to me. And I'm not saying that you have to be college or university educated to be good at the negotiating table. You don't have to be. No, there are plenty of street smart people who can make it to the corporate world and do well. But I don't think Deontay Wilder is one of those people. Why? Because of that emotional streak that he has in him. Because he's so emotional, he's so reactionary, he's so melodramatic, it clouds his judgment and it actually makes him very easy to manipulate. And I think Deontay Wilder is very easy to manipulate at the negotiating table. Not only other promoters being able to manipulate him, but even his own team, I think, can manipulate him because he's so emotional and reactionary. People, businessmen who know what they're doing, when they see someone emotional like Deontay Wilder, it's like taking candy from a baby in terms of manipulating this guy. Even on the streets, on a street level, if you're a gang boss or whatever, and you've got certain emotional, reactionary characters in your ranks, you know how to manipulate them and get them to do what you want them to do. Because their emotions don't allow them to think straight. Their emotions don't allow them to see the forest for the trees. And that's how Deontay Wilder is. And you can see it in the way he's acting and the things he's saying. This guy, in this particular interview here, he's saying the zone is trash, right? Eddie Hearn's offering him $5 million as an optional fight, as well as the Joshua fight. He's offering him $5 million to fight in September against whoever he chooses. He says, no, the zone is trash. Why would anyone sign with you? You're a disease to the sport. Well, why would anyone sign with Eddie Hearn? Well, if you look at the amount of money Eddie Hearn's heavyweight champion, Anthony Joshua, is making, then you know why people want to sign with Eddie Hearn. When you see the stadiums he's filling out, in a country which is much smaller than the United States. The UK's only got a population of 60 million. And in half the number of fights that Deontay Wilder has had, Joshua is making 10 times as much money. And Wilder don't know why people sign with Eddie Hearn? You see, nothing Deontay is saying is logical here. Why did Danny Jacobs sign with Eddie Hearn? Because Danny Jacobs is not such an emotional character. He's a more intelligent guy. And he's from Brooklyn. He's from a tough neighborhood. He don't come from, some white picket fence neighborhood somewhere. No, he's from Brownsville. But he's not an emotional character. He's switched on. Whereas Deontay, he's a hillbilly. Let's be real. The guy's a hillbilly. He's a pig wrestling, chicken chasing hillbilly. And he can't get his head around the business aspect of boxing. And that's not a moral slight on Deontay Wilder. It don't mean he's a morally bad person because he's not that capable in terms of business and being logical minded. It don't mean he's a bad person. Not at all. It don't mean you're a good person if you are good at the negotiating table. Right? So I'm not making a moral judgment on Deontay Wilder here. I'm just saying, for the sake of his own career and for the sake of the boxing fans, this emotionalism is not helping anyone from Deontay Wilder. And, he's been saying things on social media like, oh, what these guys have put me through and being all melodramatic. What have they put you through, Deontay? What, a failed negotiation with Joshua and you're acting like you've been brutally persecuted or something? What's this guy talking about? Who has brutally persecuted you, Deontay? One failed negotiation for a fight, and the guy's acting like the whole world is collapsing. What's wrong with this guy? This melodrama from Deontay Wilder is silly. And again, talking about 50-50, you've been earning like 1/10 of what Joshua's earning per fight, and you want 50-50. I think even less than 1/10, like 1/15 or something of what Joshua's been earning. And you want 50-50? Man, please somebody talk to this guy. Like someone in his team talk some sense, because they're going to miss out on a big payday. Yeah. And again, Deontay's being all melodramatic and acting like the sky is falling in. At the end of the day, Deontay, you've got your health. You're still a millionaire. Okay, you're not making AJ money, but you're still good. It's not that deep. You don't need to start crying and screaming and shouting all over the place and acting like you've been hard done by. No, there are people even in your home state of Alabama, probably in your hometown, in fact, definitely in your hometown, who are really going through some stuff, who really have hardship. They don't want to hear you, a guy who's already paid, who's already a millionaire, crying and screaming about a fight that you couldn't get and acting like you've been through some stuff over the past 3 months. What the hell have you been through in the past 3 months that was that deep to be acting like this crybaby? The fight is still there if you want it. In April, sign the contract, the fight's there. If you want to hold out for more money, cool. The fight gets built up bigger, demand a bit more. But the 50-50 business, I mean, you better do something extraordinary between now and April if you want 50-50. Jeez. My days, you'd have to take on everybody. You have to fight like 3-4 times and win every fight by knockout against top 5 contenders between now and April if you want 50-50. Now, that's just not realistic at all. You better take on Tyson Fury before April and knock him out before you start talking about 50-50. Madness. But as I say, you know, the guy is saying he hopes Povetkin knocks Joshua out. And you know, that's not a good sign, people. Because as I've said before, so many of these crazy Wilder fanboys, they don't actually want to see Wilder fight Joshua. As bizarre as that seems to level-headed people like me and you, this is the reality. They don't actually want to see the fight. And when Wilder starts saying things like this, that he hopes Povetkin knocks Joshua out, that makes it seem like Wilder don't really want the fight. Oh man, this hillbilly has lost his mind. Again, excellent fighter, a dangerous man in a fighting sense, but at the business table, you know, in the boardroom, at the negotiating table, nah, man. Nah. This hillbilly don't know what he's doing. He don't know what he's doing. He's acting like, why would anybody sign with Eddie Hearn? And look, this is not about pubbing for Eddie Hearn. I'm not here to try and sell Eddie Hearn's business, okay? I'm here to tell you why people have signed with Eddie Hearn. And I'm here to tell you that Deontay Wilder's team have not done as good a job with him as Eddie Hearn has done with Anthony Joshua. It's not even close. How can Joshua be from a country which has less than a third the population of the United States, but yet he's earning over 10 times as much money as Deontay Wilder when he's had half the number of fights as Wilder? What is wrong with that picture? Wilder should be earning way more than Joshua. He's been champion for longer. He's been professional for longer. He's had double the number of fights. He's in a country with over 3 times more people. Why is he not earning loads more money than Anthony Joshua? What are his team doing wrong? You see, but this guy's so emotional, he can't see the logic in front of his eyes. That Eddie Hearn in a smaller country has managed to build up Anthony Joshua to be this global force in boxing. Such a big global force that Wilder's own team were willing to pay Joshua all kinds of millions. They weren't paying Deontay that, or else they would be publicizing it, right? Deontay knew he was the B-side. Deontay knew he was not going to get paid as much as Joshua. So his own team were willing to pay Joshua more. He even said in the Breakfast Club interview that Joshua was definitely the A-side. He conceded that on several occasions. Well, how did Joshua get to be the A-side? He's had half the number of fights as you, Deontay. So clearly his team are doing something right. And his team includes this man that you call the devil or whatever, Eddie Hearn. So Hearn is doing a good job. Yeah. I'm not saying he's a nice guy. I'm not saying he's an honest guy. I'm not saying he's a guy who I would trust. Right? But is he doing a good job? Yes, he is. And when I look at Hearn, and when I look at any promoter, the first thing I try and focus on is, does this promoter have a history of legal battles with his former clients? Does he have a history of court cases with boxers who used to be signed to him? And with Eddie Hearn, as far as I'm aware, unless people have signed non-disclosure agreements, he doesn't have a history of legal battles with his former fighters. There are plenty of other promoters who do. Most other promoters do. But Eddie Hearn doesn't. And to me, that's a good sign. Because some promoters are so vindictive, so spiteful, that they will try and financially ruin fighters who attempt to leave them. It's what a lot of promoters do. Unfortunately, boxing is a cutthroat business. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. And so many promoters are vindictive, sociopathic people. Now, Eddie Hearn might be that way too, but we certainly haven't seen it yet in terms of the way he's treated his own fighters. Some people might talk about O'Hara Davis, this, that, and the other. Trust me, O'Hara Davis might feel like he got thrown under the bus, but that is nothing compared to what other promoters in the UK have done to fighters. Okay, I'm not going to name no names. Some of you people know who I'm talking about, but there are certain promoters in the UK who have taken fighters to the cleaners. You understand? On a consistent basis, year after year with different fighters, taking them to the cleaners financially, ruined them. There are certain promoters who, and I'm just talking about in the UK, never mind promoters in America like Don King over the years, etc. There's certain promoters in the UK who have done certain fighters so dirty that the fighters have actually come back and physically harmed the promoter. That's how deep it's got. So with Hearn, all right, he might be slimy, he might lie. Of course he lies, and particularly to the public, because he's a salesman. Tell me a promoter that don't lie. They all exaggerate. They're all selling us a product. But from what I've seen, Hearn treats his fighters relatively well, particularly if you're making money for him. He's going to treat you relatively well. And that's why people want to sign. And with this DAZN situation, he's got the money. And if he's got the money and you've got a lawyer with you as a fighter, you've got a lawyer and a manager, and your lawyer and your manager look at the deal that Hearn is offering you with DAZN, you don't make an emotional decision and say, oh, I don't like this Englishman coming in, and I don't like the fact that he didn't get the Wilder fight done with Joshua. Oh, I don't like... No, you don't do that. You think smart, you think clever, you detach yourself from emotions, and you say, okay, is this deal right for me? And people like Mikey Garcia, apparently, he has the level head to be able to look at the deal objectively. You know, you don't have to like Hearn as a human being on a personal level. It's just business. And as long as the paperwork is straight and you looked over it with your lawyer, you can sign with him if it's best for you. And I do think that streaming is the way forward now in boxing. I do think it seems inevitable to me that streaming is going to be the way of the future in the boxing industry. You've already got ESPN into streaming now. Now you got DAZN coming. I think it's the future. And I like the idea of having a Netflix, a boxing or a sports version of Netflix, because that's essentially what DAZN sounds like. It's like Netflix for sport. I like the sound of that. You know. But anyway, just to round up, Deontay Wilder, an excellent fighter, but an unsophisticated, reactionary, overly emotional, illogical hillbilly at the negotiating table. And unless he's got some much cooler, calmer heads around him, then his career is going to continue to be or his career is going to be mismanaged. Yeah, it's going to be mismanaged unless he's got some cooler heads around him who can talk some sense into the guy. And let's be clear here. Anthony Joshua could lose against Alexander Povetkin, and obviously that would change the landscape. But Deontay Wilder could lose too. I don't expect him to lose against the Dominic Brazil, but if he's out there fighting dangerous guys more dangerous than Brazil, Wilder could lose too. He came close to losing against Ortiz, and Ortiz, I mean, how old is he? Amir Mansour and a couple other people have said the guy's 48. You're nearly getting knocked out by a 48-year-old man. How safe is your position really as WBC champion? So, those are my thoughts on it, people. Deontay Wilder, he needs to take a chill pill. Someone needs to come and tell him to sit down. But as I said earlier on in the video, because he's so emotional, there are probably people in his own team manipulating Deontay for their own benefit. Because of the fact that he's emotional and they know he'll go for certain things, like a red flag to a bull. They know he's going to go for it. When you know you've got someone like that who flies off the handle easily, they can be manipulated. It's the calm and the calculated people that are more difficult to manipulate. But when someone's going off emotions, piece of cake, if you know what you're doing. So anyway, drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel about everything I've talked about in this video. And again, as far as the DAZN situation goes, here's one of the reasons I hope DAZN succeeds. Not because I care about Eddie Hearn's pockets. I couldn't give a damn about Hearn's pockets. Eddie Hearn was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was born with more money than I will probably, or most people will probably ever see in their lifetimes. So I don't give a damn about Eddie Hearn's pockets. I care about what DAZN can offer the boxing fans and what it can offer fighters potentially. And potentially it's another platform to offer fighters more regular work. They can fight more regularly, and it potentially offers the fans championship level boxing at a much cheaper price than the likes of Showtime and HBO have been giving them that type of boxing. That's potentially what it gives fans. So if that's the case, I support it and I hope it succeeds for the fighters and for the fans. For the owners of DAZN and Eddie Hearn, I don't give a damn about them. They're not my priority. Obviously they are going to make money from it, but that's not what concerns me. What concerns me is that the fighters are making money and that the fans are getting boxing at a cheaper price. I want to see a return to the glory years with boxing in the United States, because boxing in the United States has died a death. I want to see a return to the glory years like in the 80s and the 90s, even going back to the 70s, when boxing was a household, a household sport, when the top boxers in America were household names in the States. When it was a sport that was right up there in popularity with our basketball and gridiron. That's what I want to see. I want to see boxing in America return to that. And so something needs to change and something needs to happen, because it's not going to return to that if it carries on the way that it is, with HBO and Showtime just doing their pay-per-views. Like, that's not going to grow the sport in America again. It's going to have to take some type of revolutionary situation to occur before it returns to the glory years, if it can ever return to that. Al Heyman tried with PBC, and that's why I've been a long-time supporter of PBC. I've done numerous videos defending PBC and defending Al Heyman over the years. Facts. Go check my resume on my channel. Just go to my channel page and in the search bar type in Al Heyman and PBC, and you'll see all these videos coming up with me talking about how much I support PBC and hope it succeeds. Yeah, because I'm a boxing fan. My loyalty is not to these promoters. My loyalty is to the sport, making sure the sport succeeds and that these fighters who put their lives on the line for our entertainment get paid properly. That's what I'm about. So Heyman tried with PBC. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as well as he hoped. It didn't work out as well as I had hoped. So someone's going to need to come with something else. You know, if boxing in America is to be revived and brought back to the glory years of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So for that reason, and the other reasons I've already stated, I hope DAZN succeeds. But we'll see. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will crash and burn. It's a very tough market in the United States when it comes to boxing, that's for sure. I mean, Deontay Wilder can't even fill out an arena other than in Alabama. You know, outside of Alabama, this guy can't fill out an arena. He certainly hasn't for his... I mean, it might be different now that he's got some publicity off Anthony Joshua's name during these negotiations. He should be thanking Joshua and Hearn for increasing his public profile in the United States. He should be happy. Then again, maybe that's what the negotiation was all about. Maybe that's Deontay Wilder's team's intention all along, was just to grow Deontay's public profile in the United States and get Americans behind him. Maybe that's all it ever really was. Who knows? But yeah, certainly prior to now, Deontay Wilder hasn't even been able to fill out an arena. You know, 20,000 people, 18,000. He hasn't even been able to do that outside of Alabama. Whereas Joshua is filling out 90,000 people in his home city, London. And he lives just outside of London, by the way, in Watford, which is not quite under the London jurisdiction, I don't think. It might be classed as Greater London, but either way, let's just say it's London. 90,000 in London. And then 80,000 in Cardiff, which is a city, a couple 100 miles away from London. And Joshua has filled out arenas all over the place. The guy's a big deal. So, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully, Deontay can come to his senses. And hopefully, boxing in America can see a revival. I hope so. I hope boxing goes from strength to strength everywhere, because I'm a boxing fan. Yeah, I'm not like these demented Wilder fanboys, because these people are just fanboys. They're not really boxing fans. If Wilder gets knocked out by Joshua, these people are going to disappear. 90% of them will disappear. You'll never see him even comment on YouTube anymore. If Wilder was to fight Joshua in April and Wilder gets wiped out, you won't see these people no more. Because these people are not boxing fans. They're fly-by-night fanboys. Fair weather fanboys, you know. That's all they are. Anyway, let me know how you feel, people. It's Hatman, I'm out.